In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move.
The title of today's show may end up being The Bait or Debate. I'm Steve Benson. That's Paul Schultz. This is the Don't Panic Radio Show. So sit back, relax, and ignore the news because nothing you're about to hear is true. Today, I'm not setting a timer. I'm not telling everybody to skip ahead 10 minutes. This is, happy September 11th. And it's the day after the debate, the first debate between, of course, it's not happy. It's like people say Happy Memorial Day. I'm just saying, whatever you do on September 11th, put out your whatever. All right. But last night was the first debate between Kamala and Trump. And so we're going to talk about that today. And it's probably going to take longer than 10 minutes. So if you don't like politics, if you don't want to hear our hilarious take on this debate, if you don't want to hear about a way forward for our society, our culture, because there's some really personal things I want to relate, and you may as well, Paul, about how there is possibly a way forward for our culture and our society. Because if not, what are we even doing, right? So today if you don't want to hear about all that, then today's show isn't for you, and that's okay. But if you're curious and you want to hear about it, today's show is for you.
And if it isn't for you, at the end of this episode, just skip to the end. I'll put a card up there for an episode you might like. But before we get into all that, if you like our channel, you like our content, whether it's this content or our hilarity, just do all the YouTube things, hit like, hit share, hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single video, and let us know if you love or hate this video. I read all the comments, so you'll be heard.
My first thing is so of course I watched the debate. I know you did because we were texting back and forth during it.
My thumbs couldn't move fast enough.
I watched you let me know that BBC was doing a live fact check as they went.
Yeah.
The moderators on ABC, David Muir and I forgot the other person's name, but anyway, the two moderators, Lindsay something. Anyway, the two moderators were doing live fact checking as they went. The headline, they were doing pretty well. In the headline that I saw this morning, the very first headline from BBC was fact checking the debate, and the fact, like, there's all this, the news organizations are all talking about fact checking, right? And that just seems to be a theme right now. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm just kind of over it. We know they're lying. We know Trump's lying 90% of the time. We know Kamala's, like, if you fact check Kamala, it's usually because she was inferring something from something he said. So it's not really a lie as much as it is based on him saying that this is what I can infer he wants to do, right?
Right.
And to me, I think the more important thing is you can tell by what they're saying. You could tell by that what they're going to do or how they're going to govern if they win. And so if you're trying to sit there and make a decision between one or the other, is it really like he lies more than her, so I'm not going to vote for him? Or is it more like, okay, what is he lying about? And what does that tell you about how he's going to govern? So you're getting all the information you need, even if they're, up there lying.
Right.
And if he says, there's 21 million immigrants pouring over the border or whatever, you can go, okay, I don't know. If it's like you find out that it's not really 21 million and they're not really pouring over the border and they're not really all criminals and all that stuff, is that the thing that's going to change your mind? I'm just like, I don't know what good fact checking does is what I'm getting at.
It just calls attention to the lies, honestly. And it just drives home the fact that he is a liar, like constantly. You can tell he's lying because his lips are moving.
It's almost like fan service too, right? You go to
Yeah.
a Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're going to get some things that the casual audience doesn't quite pick up on, but you're going to be like, yeah, woo!
That's right.
And so when you're a not fan of Trump, like getting fact checked is kind of fan service in a way.
Yeah. It's the it's the at the end of Endgame when the portals start opening up and the other heroes come flying in. Those are the fact checks. They come flying in because the audience is like, yeah.
So let's just give our takeaways. My big takeaway is she did exactly what she set out to do. Kamala got up. I don't care if you're a Trump fan or a Kamala fan or neither or whatever. She did exactly what she meant to do, which was don't get sucked into his gish gallops. Don't get sucked into responding to every single one of his things. Don't let him run this debate. Put him on his back heels. Keep him there. And there are so many great moments where you could tell. That's why I said we could call it. You call it what you want because you're good at naming episodes. But I was just like the bait or debate because she was throwing more chum in the water than that guy in Jaws, right? And he was just every little bit. He's just chomping it up, right? So if and she did the thing that I thought she needed to do as well, which was exactly that. Don't buy into his stuff. Say things like, it's the same old playbook. Use the word old as much as he can. She even got him saying old. He was saying it's old. That's old. That's old. And it's like, yes, old. Say the word old a lot. And she got her stuff across, which is, this criticism about she doesn't have a plan. She doesn't have any policies and she won't say what her policies are. And I'm like, I don't know how much you expect her to say in 2 minutes, but she's just rattling off policy after policy position, right? So nobody,
policies.
I don't think anybody serious now can actually say she doesn't have a plan or have a policy. I mean, she just laid it all out last night, right?
Maybe you don't agree with that policy, but you can't say she doesn't have policies.
Exactly. Yeah. So she did what she needed to do. Whether it'll work or not remains to be seen. I'm expecting it will. We could say more about that. But what's your major takeaway?
Well, at first, really quick. At first, I wasn't going to watch it, and then I remembered it's Kamala, not Biden, because we talked about this because we watched their debate. We were like every time he talked, we were like holding our breath, waiting, just like, oh God, this is it. It's, something's gonna and so it was too much anxiety. And then on the flip side of that, you have him on the other side of the stage, just blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it was painful. Yeah, it had plenty of sound bites and TikToks and other social media, talking points. But this one, no, exactly. Pretty much, I knew it was going to be a bloodbath. I knew he was just going to get up there and just spout, his rhetoric and say his same 27 words over and over again. And she was going to be the calm, cool one who, like you said, didn't get sucked in, but baited the hell out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And like as soon as she attacked his crowds, that was it for him.
Yep.
Because you could see the look in his eyes.
I agree. There were moments like there are two things you could take. If you take the thing as a whole, 90% of people on the betting markets agree people agree that she won. I think it was 60% to 30 or 40%, right?
Yeah.
Which is like in those polls, if you liked Trump, of course you're going to say he won, right? But
he's
most
people
saying
he did on his platforms.
Yeah, there's general consensus that she won the debate because, as I've learned, what you're trying to do during a debate is not necessarily convince that person or convince the people sitting in front of you. It's, did you accomplish what you needed to accomplish? And every time he goes into one of these, he needs to accomplish looking presidential and looking sane, right?
Yeah.
And she knew that she had two jobs. One, make him look like he normally looks, and the other was for her to look presidential, because a lot of people, as much as we pay attention, a lot of people haven't started paying attention yet. So she needed some sound bites, some clips, some ways to come across presidential, right?
Yep.
She
And
accomplished
she
that.
turned him. Yep. And she turned him into the old man this time. That was the other
She
thing.
did.
You know, she absolutely just completely flipped it on him and turned him into the blathering, old man who was not making any sense. As the way he was, you figure all of his material that his writers have come up with was all geared towards debating Biden, but that's over now. And, they're scrambling to come up with stuff. And I think they hand him a script and he thinks he can do better than the script he was handed. Because, they have sessions and stuff before these debates. They don't go into them cold. They have all, because, her people were like, you got to do this. You got to get him on the ropes. You got to get him on, like you said, got to get him on his heels. And then they're over there at his camp, telling him stuff, and he thinks he's smarter than that, so he does what he wants to do anyway. And that's why he looks like a complete moron and a complete unhinged old man yelling at clouds. So now, so he's got nothing. He has no script. He has no battle plan. He has nothing. But so he defaults back to his 27 words. The border crisis, Hannibal Lecter, whatever this pet eating thing is. Which is, so now he's at 28. So he just keeps regurgitating that. No matter what you ask him, that's where it goes. Is back to that. And then there's that panders to his 80-year-old crowd, who are part of that generation that, and unfortunately, so are a lot of our generation still. We're like, if an older person tells you a thing, that's how it is. Without looking it up. Or just going, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, So as long as he's saying words, they're eating it up. But I don't think that's going to work this time.
Well, because he doesn't need to. Kamala doesn't need to convince those people. They're going to vote for Trump.
Right.
She's not out here trying to win them over. She'd love to.
Right.
But that's not who she's going after, right? So okay, who cares, right? Like, I can hear somebody out there and who decided to watch this going, who cares? It's not like, who cares if he said all that stuff during the debate? Who cares if she got done what she wanted to get done? We like him because he's off the cuff and he's a real person and he's not this rehearsed, practiced, whatever. And I'm like, okay, but in this case, that's okay for his rallies, right? When he's at his rally and he's up doing 90 minutes of his shtick, fine, right? He's not scripted. Great. You love that about him. But here's the thing you ought to be concerned about. And it is, that's not what he meant to do last night. He was told, and he probably agreed. Yeah, I got to look presidential. I can't get sucked into whatever it is she's trying to do. No matter what it is that he came in to try to do, she got him off his game. She put bait out, he ate it, right? What you may not want a president who's like, rehearsed and like just speaks from a script or a teleprompter. Fine, I get that. But you actually do want a president who can't be thrown off his game just by somebody else who's able to put a little bait out there. And who made that point last night better than Kamala Harris when she talked about, you talk about these dictators that you love, Putin you love Orban, you love Kim Jong-un. They're playing you like a fiddle. She didn't say it that way, but she's like, they're playing you. Of course you love them because they throw a little flatter, they throw a little bait out there and you chomp it up, just like you're chomping mine up right now. I'm putting the bait out, you're eating it. She demonstrated how he reacts when somebody knows how to play him. Right? Yeah. And from the very first moment, people were betting on whether they'd shake hands. And it was like 23% of people in the betting market. So this isn't a poll. You're not asking people's opinion. This is some people putting money on it, right? Real money. Yeah. only 23% of people were willing to bet that they would shake hands.
Yeah.
He didn't want to, right?
No, he did
He
not.
wasn't going to shake hands. You could
Yep.
tell by the way he walked out there, his body language. She went
Yep.
all the way over to his side
Yep.
with her hand out and got that man to shake her hand.
And she
That's
did
how
that
easy
thing.
it is to play him.
Yep. And she did that thing that you're in the corporate world. Maybe this has happened to you, although I doubt it because you're a fucking giant. But when you shake somebody's hand, you pull them in a little bit,
Yeah.
and it knocks them off the game.
Pulls them off their feet.
And
Yep.
that was that from that point on. Basically, it was just a matter of like sitting in the boat waiting.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen, and it did.
And it was the moment at our house. There were two moments where we all cheered. I believe it was the first. I can't remember the order exactly, but I believe the first one when she said "same old playbook," because I had told everybody in the kitchen before the debate. I said, "Here's what she needs to do. She needs to say "same old playbook" a lot. Use the word "old." Hit old hard. Same old playbook, you know?
Yeah.
Here he goes. Like you said, it's 27 things. It's going to be the border. It's not even 27. I think it's about 4. It's the border.
Yeah, I was being generous.
It's border, inflation, crime, you know, and the culture war bullshit, right? And she said that, and I was like, yay. And then the second cheer came when she said, and the way she did this, I'll bet you it took, like, it was genius level. Committee came up with it, and they probably gamed this one over and over. And when she said this, you know, there were a room full of people that just cheered when she said this was brilliant, because she did it in such a way. Everybody's like, oh, what did she say? Come on, just tell us. No, I got to set it up. She did this in such a way that it didn't seem like she was being petty, right? Her entire message was, one person wants to talk about the past and complain about stuff. Another one wants to look toward the future and talk about you and your problems, right? And she worked that in and said, I would ask you, go watch one of his rallies. Because he talks about all this. He goes on about, Hannibal Lecter and immigration and insane asylums and just weird stuff, and nothing about the American people, nothing about you and what he'll do to move you forward. And it gets to the point where people are walking out because they're exhausted and confused, right? They just leave. That was the moment we were like, she got him. And he started glitching, right? He was just
yes, you could see the look in his eye. He was madder than hell, because that's the one thing he's got is he's got his crowds.
Yeah.
He's got his sycophants, his ass kicker, his kissers, his followers. That's where his power is. That's what gives him that sense of power. And she basically just kicked that chair out from underneath him and left him hang, and it was glorious.
And I'll bet you can watch the first however many minutes before she said that, and he was one way, and then you watch after that, and he was a whole different way. That was the trigger. That was the lever that got him off his game, right?
Yep.
I thought there were some fun moments. The moment when he was saying, I don't know what he was going on about, but she was over there doing, her mic's off, so it doesn't matter what she's saying. And then he goes, and you couldn't even really hear, like I didn't even know she was saying anything other than just you could see her lips moving, but her mic's off. So she's clearly not trying to be heard by us.
By us.
Right? And when he turns to her and goes, I'm talking. I was just talking. Did you hear me talking? And then he goes, did that sound familiar? And got that little smirk on his face. I was like, oh, she got him. She got him. I didn't realize how much that bugged him that she had said that to Mike Pence, right?
Yeah.
And so not only did he let us all know that bothered him, but he also reminded everybody how much better at debating she was than Mike Pence. And it can kind of remind people, oh yeah, she is pretty good at this,
I mean, it's been her career, her entire life. This guy was a clown who inherited money
Yeah.
and made all the powerful friends, and everyone tells him he's great, and he thinks he's great. Whereas she has been a career person.
Yep.
This is what she does. She would go before judges, representing clients. She would, and then further on down, now she's vice president. She hasn't just been sitting around twiddling her thumbs having people tell her how great she is.
Mhm.
She's an actual, intelligent human being. And the thing about doing the little jabs and stuff that she did, because she picked on his crowds, and she did it in a way that it was kind of a jab. It wasn't just like she wasn't stating any facts. She was just saying, they're bored, they're leaving. Look,
Mhm.
Michelle Obama told us to go high when they go low, but I've never agreed with that.
Mhm.
I've just, my thing is when they go low, just go in smarter.
Yeah.
And she did.
When they go low,
And
go
like
in
I said,
smart. When you mentioned the money, the inheriting the money, when she said, a middle class and worked my way up, whatever, I wasn't given $400 million, and then had 6 or 7 bankruptcies. She didn't say his name. She didn't accuse him of that. We all knew who she was
but he
talking
knew.
about. He immediately comes back. First of all, it wasn't $400 million. Okay. It wasn't, it was a fraction of that. Second of all, it's like she got you again and you took the bait, right?
It reminds me of that time years ago when my kids were still in elementary school, and we had some unruly kids at the bus stop, and the unsupervised. And I got home and I, went on Facebook, and I was just making a comment about how, basically what a complete, like what the fuck is wrong with you? Why can't congratulations, you're parent of the year when your second grader gets kicked off a bus, right? Or something like that. And I was the next day, it was 2 days later, I'm going back out to the bus stop, and one of my neighbors, he's like, "Woo." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Bro, it's a good thing you weren't here yesterday, because that kid's mom come out of this house looking for you mad." And I'm like, "But I didn't say any names, though."
Yeah.
So she took the bait just the same way he did.
The other hilarious thing was when, I forget even how it came up. I don't remember if the moderators brought it up or Kamala brought it up, but somehow somebody got him onto talking about eating dogs and cats. And that was the collective, like everybody's looking like, what are you even on about? Even my son was like, who's out there eating cats? No, that was you. That was you that said that.
Yeah. And you're
And
like, people in Springfield, Ohio.
And then and it was like people in Springfield, Ohio, apparently. And then the moderator says, just as a fact check, he's just like, I've talked with the mayor of that town, and he said there's not. And Trump interrupts him to go, well, Sonny, I saw it on the television, and there was a man on the television who was saying it. And the moderator
yells at cloud.
The moderator goes, well, he actually said, well, I talked to the mayor. I don't know about this guy on television.
Okay, for me, that was the it's over moment for him.
That's the clip that's going to follow him the rest of his life.
For the rest of his, JD Vance has couch fucking. This guy has people eating dogs.
But there's so many. Which one will it be? Will it be that one, or will it be when the moderator asked him about January 6th, and he just immediately started talking about immigrants and people eating dogs and stuff? Or will it be when he asked what, talking about Obamacare, and he's like, is there, what would your plan be to replace Obamacare? And he goes, runs off, says nothing. And the moderator's like, so to be clear, you don't have a plan. And he said, well, I have concepts of a plan. That was straight out of The Office. That was Michael Scott answering, well, I have concepts of a plan. So I don't know. It'll probably be the dog eating and the cat eating. Come to think of it.
Because that is the most unhinged. For a man who has had a lifetime of unhinged comments, that's the most unhingiest thing he has. That to me, that beats injecting bleach into your body to get rid of COVID. That's what the
I
hell?
want to see somebody mash up the childless cat lady with they're out here eating cats. Somebody's got to figure out a way to mash those up.
Yeah.
What is you
Yeah,
guys'
I'm
problem
sure
with
it's been
cats?
done.
You don't like it if we own cats. You don't like it if we eat cats. I mean, what?
Well, the simple fact that he brought up the Aurora, Colorado thing,
Yeah.
which, by the way, is 100% not a real thing. You can't believe anything that comes out of this guy's mouth.
Tell us
None of
what the
it.
thing is that's not real. What do you mean?
Supposedly, a Venezuelan street gang has taken over this apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. And last weekend, there was this whole big propaganda thing where a bunch of bikers were going to do what Biden couldn't do. And no matter how hard we looked, man, and believe me, my girl knows how to look shit up. We, it's not real. So he's coming in with this thing about what happened in Aurora. So we know that's not real. So the dog eating thing isn't real. So the millions and millions of asylum rapists isn't real. None of it's real. You can look this shit up. The people that he panders to don't understand how the internet works. Like my dad, for instance. My dad's only a Republican. He's not so much a Trump supporter as he is just a Republican.
He's a Dick Cheney Republican.
Yeah.
Tell him Dick Cheney's voting for Kamala.
And he fucking hated Reagan. I mean, I'll give him that. But anyway, I'm getting off track. He will go online when and like read the news. First of all, he's over on Yahoo because he's 80 odd years old. So Yahoo is the internet to him. He will only read headlines. And no matter how many times I show him, okay, click on this headline, read this article. Okay, now see how same headline arranged differently every time. So he clicks on a couple of them. I said, look, the article is the exact same article. And I tried to explain to him how these articles are bought and sold, and generated, thinking maybe I can get through to him that maybe it isn't as bad as he thinks it is, So sometimes he has moments of clarity, sometimes he doesn't. But these are the people that his blathering works on. These are the same people who are the ones that I talked about earlier about, if your elder says it, then it must be true. Remember back in the, was it late 80s, early 90s when there was a rumor going around that Johnson & Johnson was satanic, so we had to boycott Johnson & Johnson, and that turned out to be 1,000%, hyperbolically, 100% untrue. That's the people that he's pandering to. That's the people. That's what's left of his base.
And you're making a great point that those aren't the people he needed to reach last night. Those people have Fox News and his rallies, right? Those aren't the people he needed to reach
anymore. Yeah, he doesn't understand the concept of a debate because he thinks everybody loves him because he's heard his whole life, everybody loves you.
And I think Aurora, that's a good example of he probably doesn't remember. So mass shootings are not a good Republican thing for people to remember, right? You don't want to remind people how many mass shootings we have. And Aurora, Colorado, if you didn't hear about, like I hadn't heard about whatever the Venezuelan gang thing is, I hadn't heard about it. So I figured it was some goofy thing that he was talking about that probably wasn't true. But it reminded me that there was a really bad mass shooting in Aurora, Colorado. And if it reminded me of that, it probably reminded a bunch of other people going, oh yeah, Trump's talking. And he did that a lot where and I kept saying, I was going, yes, say more of that. Say more of that. Keep talking about that. Like he talked about Roe v. Wade a lot, right? And he's got to know, his people know The less you can talk about abortion, the better. The last thing we want is for everybody to remember about abortion. And we really want them to forget that you're the one that got Roe v. Wade overturned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you spending 2 minutes talking about how you got Roe v. Wade overturned, and then you're going to blow smoke up people's ass. You're going to piss down my back and tell me it's raining by saying everybody wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. And she responded to that brilliantly. Like, this is what everybody wanted. And she's like, thank you. I'm going to take your frame of this is what people wanted, and I'm going to tell you some really heart-wrenching stories. These women didn't want that. Their husbands didn't want that, you know.
She's really good at those kind of examples. And the reason why she's really good at saying things like that and saying things that way, she's a lawyer at heart.
She's a prosecutor.
Yes. And they have to tell stories.
Yeah. And make it
her,
personal.
at her age and her experience, that stuff is like this, you know.
And I love that he talked about the student loan relief program, because he reminded everybody that, and he thought, he was like, oh, look, Biden can't get anything done. You guys tried to do this student loan relief thing and you weren't even able to get that done. And the people they're trying to reach are smart enough to go, why wasn't he able to get that done? Oh yeah, Republican Congress, Republican Supreme Court blocked it. So I'm like, I hope you keep talking about that. I hope Fox News keeps talking about that. How the only reason millions of people are having to continue pay these predatory loans is because the Republican Supreme Court blocked it. The only reason 20 some states now have banned abortion is because the Republican Supreme Court that you're proud of overturned Roe v. Wade, right? And then he goes on, and this just continues to make your point about he was pandering during the whole thing. When he's like, when they brought up the find people on both sides thing, and he used the word old to describe it, which I loved. And then he says, all these journalists have debunked that. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse Waters, they've all debunked it. I'm like, who do you think you're talking to? Everybody here who you're supposed to be talking to knows you just named 3 people who are basically in your propaganda wing, right? Nobody trusts Laura and Sean and Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters, who basically said if Kamala gets elected, the generals are going to rape her in the Oval Office or whatever.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I mean, did you think like undecided voters who are kind of in the middle are going to go, well, that's a good point if Sean Hannity said it? You know, it's like, dude, he had no idea. And then he starts talking about Abdul. He was talking about the Taliban. And again, an issue that should have been great for him. He turned it into something bad for him. And I'm sure the Democrats are just loving it, because he basically took the Taliban thing and turned it into, you know how I love dictators, and you know how they're able to play me? I brought Abdul to Camp David. He's the head of the Taliban. He's still the head of the Taliban. We got along great. And I told him better not do it. And so he said he wouldn't do it. So things, you know, he and I made a deal. And it's like, you could have pinned this whole thing on Biden and Harris, but you just said it was your fault.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he says half the time. He's making it up as he goes along.
So
he's the old man in the room now.
Yeah. So predictions from here. On a couple of different frames. So one, what do you think will be the story for the next couple of weeks, assuming something else doesn't happen, right?
That question reminds me of when Atticus was in high school, and one of his teachers was talking about how they used to write protest songs and songs about events, and they don't do that anymore. And the class basically told them it's because shit happens too fast. Yeah. It happens it happens every day. It's impossible to keep up with it. That's what this is. It's impossible to keep up. And by the time you're done riding this wave, like the eating the dogs and cats thing is going to go on for a couple days to a week, and then something I can't possibly imagine what's going to happen happen in a week from now. I didn't predict that. I didn't see that coming.
The dogs and cats thing.
I predicted her basically owning the debate, but I didn't really predict how completely, unhinged he would be. So I can't. I don't have a prediction.
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I'm only right like 25% of the time. But when I am right, you hear about it. It makes it seem like I'm right more often. So I do believe that those sound bites. I think it's the dogs and cats and people eating dogs and cats. I also think maybe it's just because it's something I'm interested in, but the Taliban thing I think will come up, that he met with this guy named, I don't know what his obsession is with calling him Abdul. I mean, that's his name, but I don't understand why does that matter? Like a lot of people,
he's on a first name basis with him.
Yeah, with a dictator, with a theological, women and gay hating dictator.
Yeah,
yeah. So anyway, I think that'll continue to be a thing. And I think abortion. I think his answer on abortion was just abysmal, and so I think that'll continue to be a thing. Vance and Walz are going to debate at some point. I don't remember when their debate is, but that's going to happen, and I believe Walz is going to own JD Vance. I mean, JD's going to be up there. Walz is going to do the same thing to him that Kamala did to Trump. JD Vance is a little more polished, and he's probably more pliable. Well, he's clearly more pliable. So he's going to listen to the prep. So he's going to be better prepared, and he'll actually use the preparation.
Yeah.
But Walz is brilliant, and he's going to figure out an angle. He's going to find a crack, and he's going to open it, right?
Well, see, Walz is America's dad. We've established that.
Yeah.
And he has this air of being, like kind of like a goofy guy who knows what he's talking about, real lighthearted, but as a dad, you know damn well when the time comes, you can kick it into, you can become serious, and the seriousness, it can be dangerous to the other person,
right?
Know, and that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Vance is going. So maybe I do have a prediction. Vance is going to expect, Tim Walz is going to walk out with an elephant ear, and come, kind of a thing, but he's not, and he's going to eat Vance alive the same way Kamala ate Trump alive.
Yeah.
So I guess I do have a prediction.
Yeah, and it does seem like the Democrats are good at, I mean, it seems like the return of competence in terms of planning how these things go, right? And maybe you could say, well, the Biden, 2020 was competent too, because Biden figured out that he didn't need to go out and push a message other than Trump's unhinged, and Trump will bury himself. We're in the middle of a pandemic that he's totally screwing up, right? So that was kind of the strategy. Maybe it never went away, except maybe in 2016, they just didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't know what they were up against. So they were running the campaign like they would normally run a campaign, and ended up losing for, we could talk about that for 3 hours, but 2020, was kind of that. And then this one just seems like their strategy and their planning just seems to be landing things at exactly the right time. So I think that'll happen. Walz isn't going to show his hand right now.
Yeah.
He knows people aren't super paying attention. And the first time they may actually see him speak might be this debate. So he might be keeping his powder dry, so to speak, to your point.
Yeah.
And when he's ready, he's going to be ready.
He's done a lot of stuff for Minnesota. So that's the guy that's going to show up for the debate.
Well, and this is kind of his audition too for, 2032 presidential run. Of course, he'll be 68 years old. That's not too old these days, anything under 80.
well, yeah, because now as it stands, isn't Trump the oldest man who's ever ran for office, ran for president?
Yeah.
He's now the oldest man, man running for president.
And not only that, if he were to win, he would be the oldest person who is president, right? How old was Reagan when he was like 78 when he left office or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's wild. And then the other prediction is, and I asked this after the debate with Biden. I don't even remember what we said. It'd be interesting to go back and look. Who does it help? Who does it hurt? And how does the race look? And I'll start. I made you start last time. I'll start this time. So here's my prediction. This is wild because I can't give this more than 50% certainty, but I believe this is the moment where it starts to take off. A lot of the analysis that I was reading last night and this morning were basically saying, okay, she did what she needed to do, but is it going to help? Is it going to move the polls? This race is so close. Like, I think after this performance and as the sound bites and the clips continue to burn into people's consciousness, I think the realization is going to come that it's like, you know what? It really is time to move on. We really are kind of sick of this chaos and this ridiculousness. Whether you agree with Trump or not, like whether you're conservative or not, you got to be sick of it. And you got to realize that if we don't elect him, yeah, there'll still be nonsense, but it won't be every day I wake up and what did he say today, right? And what our families are going to be, can we talk again at Thanksgiving? All this stuff, can we return to normalcy, right? Or at least something like normalcy, right? I think people are going to wake up to that and they're going to look at Harris and go, okay, everything they're saying about her is not true. She's not low IQ. She's smart. She's professional. She's presidential. She's got a good VP by her side. Yeah, I think we're going to see a landslide start to take shape. Maybe not in the national poll. Maybe that'll still hover around 52, 53% to 46, 47%. But I think in the key states, we're going to start to see her pull away in those battleground states.
I think those battleground states are going to be interesting to watch. That sounded so like I was on TV. Well, the sheer number of Republicans who have pulled away and and jump ship and are distancing themselves and are like suddenly realizing how unhinged he is a is indicative of, yes, that is exactly what's going to happen. We may end up at some point down the line with I don't want to call it normal because I didn't like what it was before.
Right.
So maybe something better, like and something better than what it's been, a little more professional, maybe. I think this was a fun. This was a fun joke. The jokes run itself out. It's like knock jokes with your kid. It's run itself out, and they want to get back. They want to get back to a little more normalcy, and it's you see it happening all over the place.
Yeah. In fact, next time maybe, or one of these weeks, I do want to tell you a story about a breakfast I had with an old friend. And it really is a framework, I think, for how we can move forward. And as Biden said, build back better. Yeah, military analogies get overused, but especially by me. But the way I look at it is, yeah, we were in a battle before Trump, and there were pockets of success, pockets of not success, but it was a battle and we're trying to make things better. Trump coming along just really collapsed the front and like put us on defense on every angle, right? We suddenly weren't making progress anywhere. In fact, we're losing ground in a lot of areas. Kamala winning would be like, okay, we have stemmed the tide of the counteroffensive or the offensive that they were coming at us with, right? Now we could start pushing back again, because things are kind of calmed down. Now we can start getting normal again. Not normal, but we can get back to fighting good battles, go on offense as opposed to always being on defense, right?
Yeah. I am not looking at the past with rose-colored glasses
No.
because I have seldom, if ever, agreed with Republican policies. So, and I always had they were always kind of not the people that I liked. I'll just leave it at that.
Mm.
But something it was better than this, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. There's so much about this that's bad. So, well, when you can't even talk to people,
Hmm.
that's bad.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a long one. And if you
Yeah.
stuck around this far, thank you. If you didn't and you just skipped through to see the card that Paul was going to put up, go watch that other video that Paul thought you'd like better. For Kamala Harris and for Paul Schultz, I'm Steve Vinson. This has been the Don't Panic Radio Show, and nothing you just heard was true.
Who told him this was a power move? Cat's cradle. Yeah.